Hey everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the Guardians podcast, where we cover anything and everything related to Overwatch. From your mother's gym shorts, if it's in Overwatch, to the top competitive plays every weekend. I'm your host Veritech, joined here with me, as usual, my beautiful co-host Azax and One Eye, and we will be having a new host joining us shortly. They just weren't prepared for the week, but exciting new news coming. But anyways, guys, how's your week been? I know I've been playing a ton of Overwatch with One Eye and Azax. We've been playing some too, but other than that, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. It's been fun times. Last weekend I spent 90% of it watching the North American regionals for Here's the Storm and interspersing some Overwatch while doing that. They had a viewing party at the esports arena. So I was playing Overwatch while watching games, and beyond that just school and work. It's been good times.
Nice, nice. One Eye, I know you've been racking up plays of the games, but outside of the pixels, what's going on with you?
Oh man, absolutely nothing. Regular work type stuff. But we played some heroes today or this week too, and that was a lot of fun. Zol came out, and so it was fun watching you break him in. That was a nice change of pace. Don't get me wrong, I love playing Overwatch all the time. There's nothing wrong with it, but it was fun doing heroes for a day.
Yeah, it was good to change that up, and we're gonna try and incorporate that more into our daily shenanigans. Um, Overwatch is great and all, but when you rely so heavily on a game that's not even released yet, you don't want to burn out before it starts. But I definitely get that. Well, I mean, it was an eventful week for Overwatch, eventful week for the community. It's a patch was released, and we're gonna go over that. And there was more competitive action, and we're gonna cover all that. And yeah, it's gonna be a good episode. Looking forward to it. Um, yeah, so on the competitive side of things, we'll go ahead and start with that. We always usually save it for last, but we're starting to notice a trend in a couple of these teams. 2 weeks ago, there was 2 weekends ago, there were a couple teams that just kind of busted out of the woodwork and just showed up. Team Envious, arguably the top team in the scene right now, they felt like they didn't have enough time to scrim once the beta came back up, so they had not been performing or competing in that weekend. So it gave a couple other teams a chance to shine, and a couple of those teams were IDDQD and Reunited GG, and they were good. An IDDQD again this weekend wrecked, but another team from last weekend. Or I should say 2 weekends ago, I say last weekend, was a team by the name of Google Me. And again, they showed up and they put on a show, and the people who watched were very, very entertained based on what was going on in the chat. So we'll go ahead and start with EU. Azax, did you catch any of the EU action on Saturday? Did you see any of the matches? I know I watched a few of the IDDQD matches, and they definitely are are a powerhouse of a team.
I
So
caught a little bit of EU and just the sheer dominance by IDDQD right now. Like as opposed to know, it's like 25 in their last 25 games, they've only lost 3 in competitive, and it's insane. They're competing both NA and EU, and they're just pretty dominant right now. Google Me also just really shining despite just coming out of the woodwork. I'm excited to see these two teams, as well as Reunited. Just I like everyone was invested in these sponsor teams, and these guys are just like, yeah, we're here, we're gonna kick some ass.
yeah, I mean, and they did. They showed up. Um, Google Me didn't really do much on the EU side, but like I said, IDDQD again. These two teams, Reunited GG and IDDQD, they just like trade haymakers with each other, and they finish 1-2. They finish 1-2 on the EU side since Envious has decided to focus more heavily on the NA side, and I mean, IDDQD swept Reunited in the finals 3-0. But I mean, like you said, they're on fire. I mean, they're 22-3 in their last 25 matches. It just it's it's unbelievable that there's another team that is just wrecking people. And definitely is a team that I want to see Envious play. They didn't partake this weekend. They had some other commitments they had to take care of. Real life stuff is OP sometimes, but the IDDQD they look really good. I mean, they're finishing in NA and EU really, really high.
I wasn't surprised to see sponsorship coming. Like, we've already seen from a lot of organizations that they're watching the scene, and that the more competitive it gets, the more teams we'll see signed. So seeing more teams, just killing it in the bracket, gaining more notoriety, I'm expecting to see more sponsorship soon.
Definitely. I know that sponsors have been kind of hesitant to jump in just because there was such a heavy emphasis on it in the hero scene, and there still is. Even in Tech Alpha and Closed Beta, there's just so many sponsors that had been jumping in and sponsoring teams, and companies jumping in and sponsoring events, and ESL. They're always, they say, hey, competitive gaming, we're in. Like, they'll just jump in, and they jumped in the Overwatch team. But I think other companies, other FPS heavy brands have really taken a wait and see approach, just because Overwatch is a new monster for Blizzard. People aren't used to seeing an FPS out of the developer. So, but I definitely can agree with you. I mean, these teams are really showing their dominance early on, and a sponsorship is inevitable.
I think it has a high chance to compete with Counter-Strike, and that's the only real competitive FPS on the market.
Yeah.
Like, the numbers for anything else are a joke, especially in comparison. So, like, I expect lots of teams. I expect Overwatch in a year and a half to be really popular, definitely mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing with the hesitance of companies to like get back into or get into Overwatch right now, probably just exemplified by like 2ARC or other organizations that made teams and then just did not perform as we expected them to. It could be that some people just picked up not necessarily the wrong players, but just picked up players too soon. So
Yeah.
teams as dominant like as IDDQD would be great for them to pick up now, but as the beta goes on further, I'll be excited to see more organizations get in. I think maybe just some of them jump the gun a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, and you kind of saw that with 2ARC. They had a team, they competed, they picked up the team right there at the tail end of, the beta going down for the winter break. And then when they came back up, it's like, well, we had 4 days to practice as a team. Yeah, you can go to other titles and practice and kind of get that team synergy, but it's just, it's not the same. And they crumbled. I think they finished 8th in the NA that first week, and then 2ARC said, you know what, we're going to drop you guys for now and maybe come back to it, but for now we really just we want to take a step back. And I think a lot of organizations are doing that just because anything can happen. I mean, you don't want to have a situation where you sponsor this team and then more talent comes in and all of a sudden, well, now they're getting stomped over and over and over again because there really wasn't a diversity in skills. But, I mean, teams like Envious and IDDQD and now with Google Me and Reunited, I mean, they've kind of filtered towards the top of the scrap heap. And I always like to see the underdogs do well. So beyond them, I want to see other teams, what they can kind of throw at these juggernauts of the early scene and see what comes out of it. But in the NA side, again, IDDQD won it, faced off against Google Me, second place, and they actually were able to get it a little bit closer. IDDQD did come out on top. They bested Google Me 3-2 in a best of 5 series. But these teams they're showing up. And on an interesting side note, again about diversity, Team Husky is a new team that is based in North America, and it's an all-female Overwatch team. So it's showing that there's love for Overwatch. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what your gender is. I mean, people want to compete, and they showed up and they put on a good show. And unfortunately, they didn't place as high as they wanted to. But I mean, there's talent, and it's coming every week. There's somebody new that's stepping up to the plate. So
People want to play and they want to compete, and it's really great to see. No matter who you are, like friends of mine that were just casual gamers now, like I want to get competitive and get pro in Overwatch, and it's really cool to see.
yeah, I know. Even One Eye and I we started getting bit by the bug. We hooked up with a couple of people, and it was just like, we just started having a blast playing, and it was like, we were only four-manning it, and I had the opportunity to play in some scrims on a six-man team earlier this week, and I realized how scrub-tastic I actually am at the game. But I mean, it's one of those games where you can just pick up and instantly feel like a god if you get to play the game, or you find that character that you really do well on.
Unless you're on Symmetra, then you just get used to them. You throw them in the bucket, walk away. But yeah, I'd love to see like a chair league situation with Overwatch, like a amateur competitive league, because that's always more fun. Something not quite as serious, and some more small teams in it. That's something I could really get behind. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
I couldn't see that happening anytime soon, just because it's still beta, and I feel like the community would be like, "So
yeah, I mean,
we'll
already need more people, but
yeah,
there's eventually I would like to see that. You know what I mean? That would be fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheer league is probably one of the coolest things. I keep wanting to I want to make a cheer league team, guys.
Dude, if you want to make a cheer league team, sign me up. I'm on board.
Yep, I'm down. I could devote some time.
Not to go on a small tangent, but I have a good history with doing amateur before I did professional. Like I did 2 amateur LOL teams that made a little bit of money. I love the amateur scene. It's more fun. It's a lot more lighthearted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amateur stuff, and it gets casted and streamed on Twitch. It's just so cool. I like watching.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it. It's good. It's good.
It's a good time, and I even started I co-created an amateur heroes league, and just the excitement of these teams being able to show up and be streamed, and have people tune in and watch them. I mean, that's how Team Blaze got their start. Is they started in Nexus Mayhem, which was my tournament that I co-created with a buddy, and I mean, it would be wonderful to see something like that with Overwatch, and I'd even compete. Like, shoot, it just the difference in that competitive drive. It's just different to see these amateur teams, because it's almost like they're scrappier, so you never really know what to expect. With the top pro teams, it's like, yeah, we're gonna run this comp, and on this map, yeah, we're gonna attack, and I think Jeff Kaplan came out and said on the higher echelons of skill cap, it's like somewhere along the lines of 60 to 70% of the time the attacking team wins. So I mean, these top pro teams, it's like, yeah, we know we're gonna win. It's just how fast can we win, and it becomes this whole structured. You expect to see the same thing with these amateur teams. It's like, no, we're gonna use double Symmetra support, and we're just gonna pop turrets, and just kind of work our way up, and we might be able to stop you, and we might be able to defend the payload. So. Definitely something that I'm keeping my eyes on. I want to see.
I love Symmetra. I'm sure I'll rant about her later once we get into character balancing, but I love Symmetra, and I like that people are playing her more and recognizing her as a pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I consider her someone I would never play unless it was on certain maps. And then I was doing custom games with my friends last night, and if you have not done custom games in Overwatch, you really should, because it's the most fun. With all the rules they put in place, we do things like all random, where when you die, you become a new character at random, and just the sheer madness that happens when you get suddenly it's like 3 Winstons or 4 Widowmakers, or you're forced on a character you're not really used to. So I got Symmetra on Lijiang Tower on the second checkpoint, and it was just like, so wait, I just have to run in circles around my turrets? This is amazing.
Dude, that primary fire doesn't just work. It lifts so hard. It's crazy. It's so underrated. Oh, man.
Yeah. It's just these, and as they continue to balance, because they've come out and said they want to use the closed beta aggressively, which is why they're making all these aggressive changes in this patch that came out this past week that we're about to go into. They really want to say, we want to find this balance. Yeah,
really,
I mean, and they did.
Really heavy-handed buffs, too. I mean, look
Yeah.
at Junkrat. He's like the king. Like, you see that one character pulling 40% of his team's damage pretty regularly.
Junkrat is king, man. I still need to post that 5-man Riptire that you hit. It was like, oh my gosh.
That is legend. Yeah, that was great. That was on Nepal, round 3. Yeah. Oh, man. First game after the patch comes back up, and it's like, I wonder how good Riptire is here. 5-person multi-kill, just like, it is really good here. Okay.
Yep, and I got a front row seat because I think I was playing Reaper that game, and I went around the corner and there were 5 people on the point. I went back around the corner after the explosion and there were 5 souls just sitting there waiting for me to consume, and I went, oh, okay.
And I'm screaming, his chat's just like,
Yeah.
oh, here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. But
I'll say this though, when we were doing those custom games last night, we turned up because you can turn up how quickly you gain ultimates. We turned ultimates up to 200%, and our opponents had a Lucio, and it's Nepal, the first point where you're just stuck in that room, and I'm just sitting there lobbing grenades, and their entire team's in there. I pop Riptire, run it in, the entire team's in there. Lucio drops the beat.
yep.
Explodes, no one dies, and he had it up every 20 seconds. I was like, oh my god, if you're gonna do increased ultimates, do not ever have Lucio. We did not kill a single person the entire match. All I killed was turrets for both control points because Lucio's ult was always up, and it was the most horrifying experience of my life in Overwatch. It's just
Nice.
beyond that, it's a whole new world in Overwatch, and I love seeing the changes. It's a little scary, but they're getting aggressive and making changes to the game that hopefully will help out. And if not, they're taking all the feedback they need. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the key points on why they're doing so many changes to the beta is Jeff Kaplan, the lead Overwatch guy, has come out and said that, you know, he wants the players, if they get angry in a match, if something is really detuned or somebody is really overpowered, they want people to, quote unquote, paraphrasing here, they want the players to be toxic at the game and at Blizzard and at the devs, not at each other. You know, they don't want someone to be like, oh man, you're playing Genji, well he lost 25% of his health, why are you're terrible Genji. They want people to be like, oh, this Genji's getting melted and he's actually pretty good. GG Blizz, you know, what are you going to do? So, but they are being very aggressive and very heavy-handed with these changes, and I'm all for it. It just means I can't play as much Lucio because I get blown up really easily now from Widowmakers. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel. Once again, we'll get into it when we do balancing, but I don't think any of the characters who got hit with the 50 health nerf, I don't honestly feel it hurts any of them too much. It feels like to me the only thing is you actually died to a Widowmaker headshot.
Yeah.
Which on a lot of those heroes honestly feels pretty fair. So.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sticking your head out too far, I mean, that's 150 points of damage. Boom. You know, like, you're done.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason Lucio should get sniped with a headshot and walk away with, like, 20, 30 health. Like, that should drop him. That makes sense in my mind. Same with Genji, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if a Widowmaker is actually able to get a headshot off on a quickly moving Lucio, I mean, that's skill. Boom.
I mean, Lucio and Genji are some of the hardest targets for Widowmaker, and if she gets off that shot, she should be rewarded for it.
I agree. Like, those are that nerf, because I think it was 3 or 4 heroes that got it. It felt totally justified in my mind just because they are so mobile and it's, like, not really a problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, with that, I know there was a wave of invites that came out, and it's made matchmaking very interesting. I know.
Yeah, I feel really bad for the matchmaking algorithm right now. Its job is cut out for it. You see tons of games with like, oh look, we have a rank 100 player and a rank 3. Like, okay, let's go.
There were a couple games, and I felt bad for him because between you and I, we have like over 800 games played, 850 games played between the two of us. There were games where I was the highest ranking person at like level 50 or 51, and we had like level 3, level 6 against a level 4, a level 7, level 8. It's like, oh, you know, this poor matchmaking system, like, and these poor people, they don't know what they're about to walk into. But, I mean, it's good to see more players come in, you know, and I hope more players get invited, and I hope those of you watching, some of you were able to get in and try out the game and are loving it as much as we do. But, you know, it's definitely been interesting matchmaking.
They did make some changes to the matchmaker this week, and we'll see how they go in the long term. I know I definitely was against the matches where it's just like the enemy team's average team level is 60, and my team's average team level is 22. It's just like it feels a bit unbalanced. I know levels are not a direct representation of skill by any means, but when it becomes like a really low level person versus a really high level person, there is something to be said about experience and time in the game, and it can become a little bit concerning, but I trust Blizzard to do the best job they can with getting fair teams.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do too bad. I mean, I can only think a handful of games where I've been like, nope, we need to leave as soon as this is done. This is horrible. Because a lot of the time you want to play a couple rounds, you want to see how they do. They'll learn, they'll get better. But most of the time it's not too bad. It's just a couple times where it is bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I've talked about before, they don't really switch teams that much or that quickly. So it can become a situation where it's just like, okay, I've lost them 3 times in a row. I would like them to switch teams up a little bit or something. I don't want them to leave the lobby, but sometimes you get sick of losing to the same people like 5 times in a row and you want to change.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I do love the fact that, Overwatch you can learn on the fly. Mid game, and I kind of get stuck in. If I'm dying a bunch on a character, well, I better switch because I'm bad at it, and it allows me to say, you know what, now I need to stick this out, or well, this point on the map and this payload, I'd much rather play this character because there's choke points. Um, it's I like what they're doing with the game. It's good. And with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the patch that dropped. It was a pretty big patch. Lots of big changes for quite a few heroes that saw a lot of play in many games.
Rip Winston.
Rip
Just
Winston.
kidding. He's still so strong. What am I kidding? I still got like 5 plays of the game
No
in the past
kidding.
2 days with him. Like, Winston's still so strong. Nerf him harder. Come on.
Yeah, for sure. But
No, I'm kidding. Please don't.
don't nerf Monkey.
Nerf Winston.
Don't nerf
Buff
Monkey.
Roadhog.
Please, more bananas. But
Buff Roadhog, yeah.
Buff Roadhog. But I mean, they started out. They noticed that the speed at which the payload moved on an attacking team, it was kind of slow. So they changed the way the payload moves when there are less than 3 people standing on it. Obviously, for those of you who play or those of you who watch, the payload does not move unless somebody is on it or around it. And it won't move if there are enemy players. So if you wipe an enemy player and you had one person standing on the payload, it moved incredibly slow, and you have to be like, guys, come on, let's get our team on here to move it fast. So they went ahead and they changed the speed, and they increased the speed for when 1 or 2 players are escorting the payload. Any more than that, 3 to 6, it's still unchanged because it moves very fast if you have that many team players around it. But it was a nice change. It allowed kind of less of a chance for teams to have a Symmetra, set up a teleporter, get back and turtle, because you were able to push the payload just a little bit farther and hit checkpoints, and so it kind of made it a little bit more biased towards the attacking team. But that's really the only general gameplay changes. Loot boxes, there were some changes. I know Azax, you had a lot of thoughts about the loot box changes, and the fact that you can get a box with nothing but commons in it. So it's interesting to see that change.
Yeah, the changes to loot boxes are interesting. The new common loot box. I don't think anyone really asked for another level of loot boxes that isn't necessarily good. I know a lot of people already thought that blue quality loot boxes was shit. In this whole structure, though, they pretty much changed things around, like what's actually in the boxes. So we have commons contain sprays and voice lines, which I'm actually not too upset about because I like sprays a lot. All player icons and victory poses are now blue, and rare and epic qualities of credits will now appear more frequently in loot boxes. So they're changing things up a little bit, and it's nice. I'm still not sure about the common boxes. I think my primary concern with loot boxes is that I can be level 1 and get a legendary box, or I can be level 100 and get a common box. And while it's kind of the intent of the system that you just get some kind of reward, it's a little bit concerning. I will say that the legendary quantities of credits will now appear less frequently, and that was my first legendary crate since the change. So I was like, hey, it's credits.
Mine too, but I was super hyped about it. I wanted to get a bunch of stuff for Symmetra, so it worked out.
I'm not actually complaining anymore because I enjoy getting large amount of credits now and just buying them out. I can't buy legendary skins necessarily yet, but I can buy quality of life upgrades for the characters I play. So what do you guys think about the changes to loot boxes and loot boxes in general?
I haven't seen many changes right at the start. I mean, I know that they changed some of the rarities. Like all sprays and voice lines are now common. You get so many of those anyways that if I see a rare or I see an epic, and it's flipping through the air and it lands and it's not like a skin or like an introduction or victory pose, the rarity doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. So I haven't gotten any boxes since the change. That's nothing but commons. But I do like the fact that they also decreased the price of them. Because I like those retro 8-bit style sprites.
Yeah, I almost have all of them now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
8-bit
Yeah.
spray.
I want the retro spray on every single character. They're the best sprays for me personally.
Yeah.
They're really cute. The only one I haven't gotten yet is the May one because I really like the suggestive.
Oh, it's so
they
cute.
have. Oh man, it's so good. But yeah,
I like her spray, her 8-bit spray, and then the May ice ball spray.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I like to be an asshole and just constantly throw up ice walls. I joined a game earlier this week where I was playing May against my friend, and he didn't know it. And the entire game, I'm just putting up ice wall right in front of me, like, this fucking May! This fucking May! And I do things where, like, he's got his rip tire coming, and I know it's coming, so I run towards it and jump at it and ice block, and he's like, fuck! I love May too much, I'm sorry.
I've gotten better at May. I don't play her enough. We have a buddy that plays with us, and he is probably a god on May, and One Eye likes to play May too. I can't figure her out. It's funny because everyone goes, oh my god, you can't figure her out? She's so easy. I can't figure Lucio out. How do you play him so well? And it's like, I don't know. But, you know, the changes in credits means that whenever I see a character I don't have a spray on, like Bastion, I'm able then to be like, oh, I want to buy the spray. Like, pretty much half the characters I run the old 8-bit StarCraft Marine with the good luck, have fun. And I'll kill somebody and I'll drop a spray. It's like, good luck, have fun. And, you know, it's kind of a way to politely BM. But, I mean, I like the changes. You know, it feels good, and I see a lot more credits, which is nice because then I'm able to pick what I want to buy you know, through the hero gallery.
Also, speaking of kind-hearted BM, I do really like the changes they made to the chat wheel. Because originally, it was just the Wild West. You could just spam to your heart's content, just hi there, hi there, hi there, hi there, all day. And people were apparently raging about it, even though I thought it was the best feature in the whole game, especially with the voice lines. And so then they made it the patch before this, so you could do like 2, and then it would just stop, and you had to wait like a second in between them. But now you can do 4 spams in a second, and then it'll silence you for 4 seconds. But I think it's a good system, because you still get the joy of spamming something really quick and making it sound all janky, and then you won't do it enough so that people don't get salty. So I really do like the changes they made to the chat wheel. I know that sounds like a weird thing to comment on, but it's something I enjoy a lot in the game. I think it's good. It's a fun way for people to interact and communicate that kind of promotes a healthier communication environment. It's kind of hard to be toxic with a chat wheel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's something that is really important to me in the game, and I'm actually really happy with where it is right now.
Yeah, and I know that because we are, you know, we like to test every little facet, and we like to spam politely. we've already like tested, and I think it's something like you can spam 4 times in 5 seconds, and then it locks you out for 3 seconds. I think 3 or 4 seconds, and emotes do count towards that, which I was trying on Lucio. I spammed his emote, and it locked me out for 3 or 4 seconds, however long the lockout is. It's not a long lockout, but you know, it's fun. You know, and I actually got caught testing it out. I'll just stick to that story. I was testing it out. I was definitely not BMing the enemy team by emoting on Lucio, where he does his breakdancing move, and I just got lit up. But yeah, emotes count.
I remember that. That was quality. That was some solid bug testing.
I don't. Yeah, it was bug testing. That's all it was. I was not bad mannering the enemy team. That's not like me. I wouldn't do that ever in a million years. I was bug testing. I found a bug. But yeah, so the little quality of life things. Blizzard's listening, and you know, it's pretty cool. But and then also there was some behind the scenes changes to matchmaking. You know, and it just kind of gave some improvements to the in-game matchmakers. You know, for players in groups and then players at higher skill levels. They're not waiting and waiting and waiting for matches. They're able to get in, and also there's not that huge skill drop off, you know, where there's a pro player on each team, and the pro player from one team drops, and they replace him with a level 10. You know, I do nothing but play McCree, and all I do is, you know, do his alt fire noob, and you know, so players are definitely responding positively to that. It's been interesting with the new wave, having low-level accounts, but...
Yeah. Well, that's what Jeff Kaplan talked about in his video this week. Like, he touched upon matchmaking, and I gotta give Jeff Kaplan a lot of credit here, because when I watch his videos, they're really heartfelt. Like what you mentioned earlier, earlier about him wanting people to blame Blizzard, blame him personally for things that they don't like in the game. It's just like this guy has his heart and soul in Overwatch, and I love seeing it. I love the transparency, and he did touch upon just like it's really hard considering hero switching and how does it balance for me playing Reaper versus Mercy or your friends or people leaving mid game because they could get a perfectly balanced match and then what happens is someone leaves right as everything's all set up and they doesn't want to put you back in a skirmish. They want you to get playing again because you waited so long. So there's a lot of moving parts and it's really hard to balance for Overwatch and do matchmaking. So I appreciate all the work they're doing to try and improve it.
Honestly, I think it's funny. I think the algorithm they have for Overwatch is better than they have for Heroes. I think it's probably much better to find a balanced match in Heroes than Overwatch, but I won't touch that one.
Yikes.
Yeah, a lot of games they felt like steamrolls. Some of the after the patch changes, it feels like it's incredibly easy for us to push. There was one game where we lost on Temple of Anubis as defenders in 1 minute and 48 seconds. Like
Yeah, but also that game, nobody went to the point. They thought it was team deathmatch, so I maintain that is what happened there. I don't think that was imbalance to the game. I think that was people just wanting to scrap.
No, that was imbalanced clearly. Total
clearly,
imbalance.
because we're the highest of high level skill players. Like, that should never happen.
So just everyone fist fighting while Tracer's like, "Hey, I capped both points to win the game."
And that's
GG.
that's exactly what happened. Like we'd run in and just like blah, blah and this Tracer would just be like zip zip cheers love, and she'd cap it and it's like oops, like maybe we should be doing the objective. But I mean, yeah, I've noticed that there were some serious pub stomps, and then there's also some games where it was like balls to the wall action for like 10 minutes, and it was just like these two evenly matched teams just throwing themselves together. Obviously not today or yesterday because we were getting a bunch of like single digit account levels, but I've seen the improvement, and I've also seen the disparity because you're adding more players, so the matchmaking system is compensating, but the times that you're waiting is also shorter. I mean, there was a match on Monday where I had to wait 9 minutes to find a match, and I don't think I've waited any longer than like maybe a minute and a half in the last few days. So,
Well, it's happened in the earlier waves of the beta where it took a while, but it was much smaller then, so it's understandable.
yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely good. But with the gameplay and the general changes out of the way, we'll go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes that everyone wants to talk about, and that is the changes to hero balance.
Woo!
And and
This is always my favorite part.
they had said they're going to be experimenting. They even put it in the patch notes. We're experimenting with some pretty significant balance changes this patch. Like, and they did. They're not lying. Some people will argue they gutted a couple characters and buffed a couple that didn't need it, but that's what they said they're going to do. They're going to do it. They put it right in the patch notes. Like, what do you want them to do? You want them to like spell it out for you? I mean, there's some changes, and it started with they tweaked Bastion even more. They changed they changed him to make him overpowered 2 patches ago. They changed him to make him a little bit more even 1 patch ago, and this patch, they changed it again because they really want him to be more of a run and gun mode, stay in recon mode instead of turtling up and just like mini gunning everybody down.
They're definitely making it easier to have 2 different play styles with him.
He feels healthy right now. Like, I know Veritech, you and me have both been playing games on him this past week, and I really think he feels good. He feels like he's a good duelist when he's in recon mode, and obviously Sentry, I mean, you're able to kill him. I think people who rage about him fail to realize that the answer to Bastion is just pick somebody without weapon fall off and then just drop him at range where his spread's terrible. Like Lucio's and Yada, Pharah, all absolutely fantastic picks versus Bastion, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I think he's good. I think he's in a good place right now. I don't necessarily know if he's in a competitive place, but I think as far as casual play is concerned, I think he's in a decently healthy spot. I think there's an argument against that when you talk about comps that are running 2 Bastions and a Torbjorn. That's kind of ridiculous to break into, but like, I don't think he's in a bad place just as the hero stands.
Yeah.
I'll say this, I did play him this week, and I noticed over the last couple weeks it's been a lot easier to play like a run and gun style and actually like getting kills and playing effectively and not just needing to be turret up, and it really helps out because you don't feel that need to like I need to find a safe place to turtle up, I can't die, I need to be protected.
Yeah.
I will say this though, the best Bastion experience I had was last night when I was playing, and I was on Li Zhang at the first point I turret up, and Symmetra puts her turrets behind his butt. So people go around back to kill him. It's just like, nope, sorry, you're dead.
I had a game today. One eye was with me. I think I went 17-1 on Kings Row. Like they didn't even make it through the first point past the bus. Like it was just like we were
Yikes.
melting them. And anytime
That game was disgusting. We had 4 deaths the entire game.
Yeah.
That game was awesome.
yeah, we had 4 people died. That was it. Like I went 17-1. I think one I went like 13-1, 15-1, something like that. It was just like, yeah, you can still play Bastion, as that stationary turret as long as you can find those spots. And I will say that all but one of my kills I was in sentry mode instead of recon. I wasn't running around. But I mean,
Yeah.
I like the changes. He feels fun. He doesn't feel like just a one-trick pony. Like you find your corner and you turtle and wait for the enemy to show up so you can mow him down. He's a lot more fun in run and gun. That being said, I don't know if he'll be competitive just because he's not very fast. I think it's a lot of the reason why you also don't see Reinhardts very often. It's just because they're just not fast. If you get wiped, it takes forever to get anywhere. So,
Yeah.
but we'll have to see. But I mean, they tweaked Bastion again. They changed the damage to his core, so now it causes double damage whenever you're behind him attacking his core instead of triple damage. But that's also in line with the fact that they changed his sentry mode and nerfed his total armor and health the
Yeah.
patch before. But I think he feels really balanced. I mean, anytime you see a Bastion by himself, if he's good, he'll kill you. If he's not, there's a chance that you'll kill him. I mean, it's just...
I got a pretty good Bastion play of the game this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was definitely just sitting King's Row, first point, in the back corner behind the building where the 2 exits are. Just turn it up there, and you just kind of grit your teeth and just mow through it. I think in the play of the game, like a Reaper drops down from the ceiling and pops Death Blossom, and I just gun him in place and finish it with 30 health or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think he's in a good place. I like where Bastion's at right now.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Torbjorn as well seems pretty like it's just so easy to kill his turret now and just deal with him that way.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely are making it easier for lower skill level attacking teams to not get turtled so hard. It was bad for a while. It was almost like required. Oh, we're on defense. Symmetra, Bastion, Torbjorn. Okay, cool, we're good. Like now we know we won. And you'd pick your spot and you just mow people down. And Bastion, it shows that they're really trying to find that balance because, he's just not the turtle monster he once was, unless you're a god on Bastion. And I have seen a couple of those.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't happen
It
as
still
often.
exists.
Yeah, it definitely feels fresh. So, but the next change was to Genji. He got one change. They decreased his health from 200 health to 150 health. Now, that doesn't mean much if you're a decent Genji player. It's 25% less health, but the interesting caveat to that is a Widowmaker headshot it's a one-shot. So, it definitely made it a little bit better for those players against the Genji because he is kind of a monster in his own right if you know how to play him. But that one change, it made him feel a lot squishier.
I learned about this change by Envy Snoop, I believe, or Snoop, I forget. Sorry, Envious. He tweeted "Rip Genji." I was like, oh god, what did they do? It's just like, yeah, headshots will now pretty much clean them out, or buff Widowmaker body shot. People felt Genji needed a change and was potentially a little bit too strong, and we'll see how this plays out. As Blizzard said, that they're experimenting with radical changes and aggressive ones, and they're more than open to changing it and taking feedback. And it said he's a smaller, more mobile character that's harder to kill. So this change makes a bit more sense for him to be squishier, and I support the idea. I haven't played much Genji since then. But you guys have played a lot more Overwatch this week. How have you felt against Genji since the change?
I don't notice it at all. I mean, if we talk about Genji's survivability comes from the fact that he's mobile and he has the damage reflect. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like Stray, Widowmaker, Headshot, that doesn't factor into that equation at all. You know what I mean? The difference is now Genji's not randomly getting lucky and surviving that Widowmaker Headshot. But that doesn't really factor into his playstyle at all because he's more of like a poke at range and then you all in and commit. You know what I mean? So I don't think it directly affects his effectiveness. I think it just kind of brings him in line and makes him less lucky. Because a character like that should drop to a headshot. Somebody like Widowmaker should be able to drop a body like that. And I don't know. I haven't noticed it at all. I played like 2 rounds on him. Genji's not somebody I really played, but I didn't notice it. And I didn't notice a lot more Genjis dying. Like, he felt the same. So I can't imagine it's too heavy-handed of it. And I know that there are a few more characters who got that 50 health reduction that we'll get into. And honestly, I don't think any of those characters, it really affects how they play.
No,
I think it just takes away the whole, oh, he survived with 20 health from the headshot. What a lucker. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it requires you to play smarter. But if you play smarter, there's really no change. And the developers even they've come out and said, you know, Genji, he's a fast character. He's got a smaller character model. You know, he's difficult to hit, especially, you know, someone who's using the E reflect really smartly. But it's not a permanent thing if you guys don't want it to be. You know, share your feedback. Tell us how it is. You know, we want you to tell us how you feel playing him. And so far, I haven't seen much difference. I can catch a Genji on a Bastion or a you know, a Junkrat or a Reaper a lot easier, and I can kill him. You know, I can 2-shot a Genji at close range on a Reaper, no problem now. But I mean, not many Genjis are going to be in that position to begin with, so I haven't really seen much change. I mean, they die and they kill pretty much the same rate, so.
I mean, next up would be Lucio, and he got the same treatment. And I mean, admittingly, I've been seeing less people on Lucio, but I haven't really noticed a decrease in his performance. He feels the same when I'm playing him. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the thing, I think the difference between an average Lucio and like a good Lucio is the fact that they're going to be mobile all the time. They're going to be in their movement stance probably more than they're going to be in their healing stance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the change, I haven't felt it on him either. And that was the only way they touched Lucio, and Lucio's been like a tier 1 support. I'm not exactly sure why he's been getting such less play just because of that nerf. Because on Genji you don't feel it, but on Lucio you do? Like, I haven't felt it. I mean, you've played more Lucio than I have, so you might have a better opinion on it than me, but...
People will radically react to things. I think people were looking not necessarily for a reason to get off Lucio, but they were like, if he gets one nerf, da-da-da. Lucio, I love Lucio. I'm sorry, the first game I played with Lucio this week, I go around my first corner and bam, 1 shot by Widowmaker, and I was like, fuck. But I'm not too mad about it because it makes sense. He's like, that's still a good hit to get off, a good kill to get off, and a good hit. He shouldn't be as tanky as he is for how strong he can be, and hopefully this change brings out more diversity. I've already heard about some scrims where there's been diversity, where there's even like 3 support, 2 DPS, 1 tank comps, and it's just like, things are changing now, and it's going to be interesting how, especially this weekend and all the competitive scenes, how it affects the meta.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that I don't want to see Lucio played, it's that I don't want to see Lucio mandatory in every game. So I'm fine with this change.
yeah, and I mean, I was, like you said, Lucio is pretty much, it's like, well, we want to win, well, I'm going to play Lucio. Like, that's just what I do. I really never played any other supports. I tried Zenyatta. I was like, Mercy was just like, yeah, I got a cool skin for her. You can go stand over there. And I don't really like playing Symmetra. She just doesn't fit my playstyle. But Lucio, he's just one of those characters that he's so fast. He has the ability to make the other team fast. He has the AoE passive heal. You know, his ulti, you know, sound barrier is just awesome. And I was afraid after the patch to actually pick him up and play him because I'm like, 200 health, like I get melted. But then again, I also play super aggressive. And those of you, you know, who watch One Eye and I play on a daily basis, you'll see me in the front lines on Lucio. You'll see me 1v3ing on Lucio just to buy time for the rest of my team. And once I picked him up and I tried him with the 50 health reduction, where he only has 150 health now, I didn't see much difference. I just had to play smarter, and I couldn't be super aggressive anymore. You know, I could still be my natty self and be buzzing around and, you know, wub gunning people, you know, into the ground. But I had to play a lot more with my team. But I don't mind the change. You know, as a Lucio main, I don't mind it. They can keep it that way. But the competitive scene might have a word to say about it. So we'll just have to see how big of a change it is to the meta overall tomorrow and Sunday during Gosu and ESL. But I mean, one change, whatever. And they said they're going to do it, and they did it. So
Yep.
Not even that big of one.
no,
But the
it's
next person on the list did get a huge change, and that's Junkrat. In my opinion, out of the batch, him and Winston had the most drastic changes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they changed the way that his ultimate went about. You know, it used to
Yeah.
be you heard the Riptire coming, you could just turn and fart on it and it would die. Like, you couldn't do anything. You had to be really smart with it. Now, because they tripled its health up to 150 health, it's got as much health as a Lucio or a Genji. You know, it's got as much health as a Zenyatta with full armor. Like, it's another character coming down on you. Now, the flip side to that is, if you blow it up before the Junkrat has a chance to trigger it, it doesn't do any damage. It doesn't kill you. And before, that used to be the thing. Like, it was essentially like this Mexican standoff where you heard the Riptire coming. If it got too close and you killed it, it would still kill you because it would blow up when you blew it up, and now it doesn't. You know, and then they also changed the damage fall off to the detonation radius, so it does a lot more damage.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much removed it. I mean, I know that they didn't remove it, but that's how it feels. In like actual application
Yeah.
and playing it, that's just how it feels. Like it feels like a full damage radius. It's awesome. It's a good ultimate, and I like it. I mean, it's a little strong right now.
Yeah.
I had a lot of rip tires where it just felt like I wasn't killing anyone, despite being near people. And hopefully this changed. Like as you've already said, and I've already seen, it's really strong right now, and I hope to see this continue because I like this ult being really strong, considering it can be canceled by other players.
And it should be. See, my argument isn't that the damage is too strong, it's that they might have increased the health a little bit too much. Because I like the way that it works. The fact that if you destroy it, it doesn't deal damage, the fact that it doesn't really have damage drop off in the radius, like it feels like an ultimate. Because before it felt pretty junky, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you got some kills
Yeah.
with it, you felt really lucky and awesome, you know what I mean? But like, it might just be too tough to kill right now. The difference
In fact-
is no, go ahead, sorry.
The fact that it doesn't explode and kill you, I would be fine if they lowered the health because it can't kill you when it explodes.
Like, and I'm not even saying much. Like, I don't think it should be 50 because 50 is nothing. That's like a straight bullet. But the fact that it's an entire health pool is a little ridiculous. If it were me, I'd like to see how it felt at 100, like 100, 125, something like that. But it's good. It definitely feels like an ultimate. It really feels like a game changer now. Like, it's pretty easy to kill 2 or 3 people with it and be able to turn it into an effective push.
I will say this. I don't mind the 150 health pool just because the characters I play, granted, on Reaper it's like, God, you know, you can't, it's got to get in close for you to do any real damage, and by then it's like, who can pull the trigger faster? But like,
But I mean, even then you just shifted on Reaper. So
oh
it doesn't
yeah,
even
and
matter.
it blows up. But on Lucio, you know, one primary fire round or barrage of 3, if you get it on it, it's done. Like, and that happened a couple times today where I would hear the Junkrat ulti, I would hear the tire come around, I would just fire from where I heard it coming. It would come around the corner, take all 3 web bullets, and just done. And it's like, okay, awesome, cool, whatever. It means that you need to be still diligent to find it, because it is an actual threat now, as someone in chat is saying. It's a threat, because it has such a large health pool. But I haven't really seen an issue with it. I'm able to run away. I took a couple in the face today during a game because we were all bunched up on the second point of Nepal, you know, around the bell in the middle. But you know, it's they can experiment with the health pool, but I actually like this change, especially because I like playing Junkrat. He's a lot of fun.
I think it's a really healthy direction for it. It feels like
Yeah.
an ult.
Yeah, it does, but it's still a little bit overpowered because now you're seeing Junkrats in almost every game, and you know, it's really the only change they did to him is they said, okay, well, here's Riptire, we're going to change it. It's going to feel like an ultimate ability now, and it's killing everything. So, you know, it makes you play safer, it makes you play smarter. It doesn't make you clump up into the Blizzard Death Ball, you know, the trademark Blizzard Death Ball that happens in every Blizzard game, because it'll kill you, as evidenced by your play, which will go up on YouTube probably by the end of the weekend of the, you know, the
That's a good one.
essential full team wipe. But it was a big change, and all they had to do is say, yeah, we're increasing health, decreasing explosion radius, and yeah, have fun with that. And you know, players are having fun. You know, Junkrat is actually viable now. If he's viable in competitive, I don't know, but he's viable in a casual game. Someone's not going to roll their eyes and be like, oh God, a Junkrat, like they are on, like, say, a Widowmaker attack, or you know, Symmetra attack. You know, it's like Junkrat's viable. You can play him however you want. So, but like you said, the other big change was Mei, and Mei they changed her so that her primary fire now has a minimum slow effect that's instantly applied, but it does keep the total time needed to freeze a target unchanged. And the problem,
Yeah.
or the reason why that's a good thing, is because when you have those fast characters like Lucio and Genji and Tracer, the minute you hit them, they can just move out of the way and there's no slow. Now it instantly slows them down. And not a lot. You still have to keep your endothermic blaster on them, but it slows it down enough to where it makes her a little bit more fun. And me, the self-proclaimed Mei hater, I've even had fun playing her. Like she's fun. Subtle
And the
changes
total
like that.
freeze time is unchanged, so it's
Yeah.
not like you freeze
Yeah.
people faster. It's just the effect hits them immediately.
Right.
As probably the podcast resident expert on May, I'm going to turn from someone who's mainly focusing tanks and bigger targets I can slow down and fuck up to something where I'll turn on the Genjis and the 76s more because I don't have to work not as hard, but it's easier to slow them down and get them to that point. As I said, it's not. I mean, it's not a different slow time. It's just quicker to get to it, so it's more effective on people like Genji. So I'm really excited to see that change. It'll just make her a lot more stronger, and she needs that. I want her to get played more widely than just the look, we have a Mei. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feels better. You know, it's a fast character. I guess a quote unquote tracer slayer. And I know today one of the games we played, I was on Lucio, so I think either One Eye or somebody else was on Mei, and all we did was it was on you know, that first point in Nepal, and they had a Reinhardt in the enemy team. The Reinhardt would charge in, and we would just ignore him, go past him to their back line, and just use the Mei to slow everybody down and just wreck them. I mean, it was probably one of the easier games I played today, just because that little subtle change made such a difference in her viability on those backline fast characters that you know, it felt a lot better. And then the other change to Mei was that her effect radius of her ulti, her blizzard, can no longer be blocked by the barrier of the payload. So you used to be able to, like, you know, put a Winston barrier up or just hide behind the payload and it wouldn't do anything to you. But now, you know, that's another thing that teams can't use to their advantage.
That is so nice.
Yeah, it's like you need to get away. And if you're stuck in the middle of that blizzard, you're not going to get away. So
If Mei has a role in Overwatch, it's being the annoyer, the aggravator, and it's another way to help her be even more annoying and effective on the battlefield. And that's one of my favorite changes. I've been playing her on more maps lately than I usually do because I normally play her on Kings Row and Hollywood. Always Hollywood because they have that one choke point at the very beginning under the arch, and you can block that off so well against the attackers. And it's actually something that Blizz is looking into because of how easily that is choked up. So I'm looking forward to getting more experience and play on her and playing out these changes.
yeah. But like I said, I played her a couple games this week. She was a lot more fun, I felt, because I felt like I stood more of a chance because I don't know what it is, but on certain characters I can't aim, and Mei is one of those where I have a hard time keeping up with fast characters. I guess I need to raise the DPI on my mouse or something. But, I mean, she was fun, you know, and I'm definitely going to want to play her more. You know, one of our buddies probably will have a hard time with that, but he'll deal. But that little subtle change, it made a big difference. The last big change of this patch was to old Monkey Man, Winston.
And even then, there wasn't really a change. They just cracked him in the legs with the Nerf bat.
Yeah, you know, that's not a change. It's just kind of, you know, hospitalization. But
I mean, I'm not saying it's not justified, but that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, it felt like what they did was they took 40% of his shield health away from his barrier. So now it's at 600 health instead of 1,000. And you don't get a new barrier cooldown beginning until that barrier expires, which I heard a lot of complaining about that second point about the cooldown. But hey, with 40% less health, it's going to drop a lot faster. So you have to be smarter. I know with me, I would just YOLO in. I would leap in, shift in on people, and barrier along the way, or even once I landed, and then I would run back. And it gave my team a chance to set up, because Winston has a large health pool by default, but it definitely felt different this week.
Yeah. Winston getting this nerf is definitely noticeable, and it'll impact esports a lot. We'll see how it goes this weekend in the weeklies, but it's not something I feel that's as huge as you guys are making out to me. I mean, it's definitely a big nerf, but I feel like Winston will still be really good. He's still
still
gonna have
really
his main
good.
role. Yeah, it's
It's
just
just
very less annoying.
But
And
I mean, it's huge. Winston's issues were not, in my opinion, weren't his barrier, and I think a lot of people are failing to realize that. Like his barrier was problematic, and yes, it forced players to generally just avoid like shooting into the barrier at all. But Winston's damage, his big problem is his damage. The fact that you can just shift onto a back line and kill a squishy before they have any chance to respond because you have a 500 health pool, that's where I
a bit
think the
insane.
problem. That's where I think Winston's problem lies. And keep in mind, I have no issues with the health nerf. The fact that they nerfed the shield from 1,000 to 600, it still feels beefy. It still does its job. I have no problem with that. The problem is before where it felt like you were matching shield with leap cooldown, they're pretty close to each other. Now you have 2 or 3 leaps before you ever get a shield back up. And that's where I have problems with it, is how long the cooldown is now. Because I can understand wanting to start the cooldown after the shield's broken, that makes sense, but not reducing the timer at all to compensate. And I'm not even talking huge amounts, but saying lowering the cooldown by maybe 2 seconds. That would make it a lot healthier in my opinion. Right now it just feels too strong. You're getting like a third of the shields and it's already almost half as weak,
Yeah.
Well, the reasoning for doing it was that, and I'm guilty of this, players were not attacking the barrier instead of attacking it to kill it. And as I said, I'm guilty of this. I would just ignore it until it expired, and making his barrier basically just off the map for longer periods of time does not fix that. People need a reason to kill it instead of just waiting. And now it's just like, hey, instead of just waiting, it's just not going to be there for like an extra 10 seconds.
Yeah, and that's all it is. That's where I feel is unneeded. Like, I feel like they could lower the cooldown on the shield a little bit to compensate for the fact that it doesn't start until it's destroyed, because if it's avoided still, then you have like a 20-second cooldown or something, you know what I mean? So, tune the cooldown on the shield a little bit and then nerf his damage. Because Winston still feels really strong. He still honestly feels like the best tank in the game, but I think it's because he does so much damage. It's not because his shield does so much work.
Yeah. And I think where the changes are most going to be seen is at the upper echelons of skill level. The meta the last couple of weeks has always been almost standard, at least on the NA side, 2 Winstons, 2 Reapers, and then a Lucio Zenyatta or 2 Lucios. So, I mean, it's going to shake the meta, I think, a little bit, because he still is the top tank, but teams have to be a little bit smarter, because now your barrier, you do pop it, I mean, you're done, and you still have to wait for that cooldown. But I will say I haven't seen much change in it, just because usually on Winston I'm dead before my barrier comes back up anyways. I play super aggressive. I mean, you'll start noticing a trend when I talk about characters. I play super aggressive, but now it feels a lot easier to get through that barrier. And teams used to cheese and just drop a Winston barrier on a payload because it moved with the payload if you placed it perfectly. And now, you could tear through it. And now Winston and the enemy team is SOL unless they have some other form of damage mitigation readily available.
Yeah. We'll see how it plays out. I know I want to see more tanks. The double Winston in competitive wasn't very healthy, so we'll see how it goes. I still love the Monkeyin. He's one of my favorite characters to play. So
yeah, I mean, you pop an ulti and you feel like you're wreaking havoc. You just jump in on him and just start back, pimp handing him everywhere. I like to get like that one character in a corner and just pimp hand him and just try and juggle the character till their health bar goes away. It's quite fun to do. Winston, he's a fun character to play. He's one of the easier characters to play because you don't have to aim his primary fire. But the changes to his shields definitely kind of knocked him down. I won't say a full peg. He's still the top tank, but it knocked him down probably about a third of a peg. to where he's not leaps and bounds above every other tank in the game. No pun intended.
Oh boy.
Well played.
Yeah.
But I mean, those were all the big changes this patch. They reverted the thing on Mercy. She could target corpses again, which I think is healthy. I'm still surprised that they changed that and then immediately backed off because somebody on
Yeah.
Reddit got all salty. But no, I think it's a good change because you should be able to jump to corpses because you need to revive them, especially with the nerf from 40 yards to 15. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of need it in the game. Plus, it's like they even said in the developer notes too. It makes Mercy's movements a lot harder to predict because it gives her more places to move than just alive
Yeah.
players. I think it's good. I mean, they didn't touch any of her numbers. That was the only thing they did to her, and I'm glad that they changed it back because I still think it should work like that.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're making these tweaks, but I think Mercy really needs kind of an overhaul because she doesn't really ever get play of the game. You don't really see her. She's got the single target heal. Yes, she can revive everybody. I got a really badass skin for her. I want to use it, and because I do play so aggressively, and others have echoed it, they need to change something about her alt fire with her pistol because it feels like she doesn't really have an impact on a fight, which
Yeah.
is why you see more Zenyatas, you see more Lucios than you do Mercy. I mean, she's a lot better than she was simply because Lucio lost 25% of his health, and Zenyatta's Transcendence is kind of like a poor man's sound barrier that only really makes Zenyatta invulnerable. But I want to see them overhaul her skills. I would love to see an alt fire on her pistol, strengthen the tune the damage on her pistol, maybe make her alt fire instead of damage boosting, make it like so her staff actually fires something. I don't know, but they're trying it out, they're testing it out. But the changes to Mercy the last couple of times have been very minor. She's just not. You're not really going to see her in competitive play. You don't see her very often in casual play, and I really want to use my demon Mercy skin and
No kidding.
be worth a crap in a game. The other, now that I'm looking at it and kind of chewing on it a little bit, it's kind of a big change, but it's more to the European meta. Whereas the NA meta used a lot of Winstons, the European meta uses a lot of Zaryas, and Zarya actually got her projected barrier duration nerfed from 4 seconds to 2 seconds.
And that's just projected, not the self. The self
Yeah.
barrier's always
Yeah.
been 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, and it kind of it gave somebody a little bit of extra playroom, especially if you're solo queuing, to kind of realize, oh crap, I have a barrier on me, and go in. Now you've got half that time. You really have to coordinate it a lot better because that barrier is going to fall off in 2 seconds rather than 4.
Yeah.
And it was causing problems. You saw a lot of in the EU meta there was double Zarya. Like they went heavy double Zarya because now you got 4 shields, four barriers out, and halving that duration. I think you have to be a lot smarter with it. It's a big change on the other side of the globe, but overall, it just means you have to play smart. All of these balance changes, kind of the TLDR, TL don't watch is play smarter. Like all of these changes are intended for you to play smarter. And then there were some changes. A change to Zenyatta. Whenever an orb of harmony or destruction is returned from a dead target, players will receive that notification.
Just
Yay.
quality of life.
Yeah, it's quality.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't affect the game at all. It just helps Zenyatta players, and it's a nice touch. And Blizzard said that it was something that was recommended to them by a player, too. And it's a good suggestion. It fits the game well, and it just helps.
Yeah.
Always taking that feedback.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing about this game, and the biggest reason why I'm super excited for the full release, outside of the fact that it's just a kick-ass game, is Blizzard is really listening to the community, and they're really taking these changes to heart, and they're really trying to make the quality of life and the overall game experience from the lowest of the low, youngest of the young, to the top player, team envious level. Everybody's just going to have a fun time, and that is probably the most promising thing of all for me. So I think that just about covers the patch notes. If there was anything else you guys wanted to talk about, anything that grinds your gears, we do have a little bit of time left. We can cover that, but that's it. That's it for the patch. Quality of life changes, some big nerfs, some big buffs on the surface. Yeah.
See how it turns out in competitive this weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's a good patch. The game feels healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels pretty good, healthy right now. The state of the beta feels healthy right now, and just well, we need more time with it and more players, and we'll see what comes with it. But the fact that they're balancing so quickly and making changes so quickly and being so open and transparent, they're posting on the forums every single day. They're responding to feedback. They're handling this beta really well, despite what some people may think. I feel like it's being handled really well.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And there really wasn't any character that just broke as a result, like the last couple of ones. It really just kind of helped balance everything out. Well, I think that just about covers episode 6 of The Guardians. We'll go ahead and do our outros. Azax, man, where can people find you at?
If you want to find me, you can find me at Twitter at Azax Gaming, AZAX Gaming, and I'm not streaming right now, but I will be moving to YouTube Gaming in the near future, so look out for that. I'll be playing some Overwatch and some Division when that releases next week. Donovan, where can people find you?
Me, same places as normal. You can find me at Twitter over at NA1I. And then also you can find me out and around the Multitap crew doing stuff with them. He was here earlier, but this week I'm going to go ahead and plug Super Derek. He live streams a lot of RPG Let's Plays, and he reviews a lot of JRPG reviews, so if that's your sort of thing, go ahead and check him out. But yeah, so Twitter's a good way to reach me, and otherwise Multitap. So.
Sweet. And as for me, my Twitter is Veritech GG. You can find me there. I check it religiously. It's not up right now. I'm a hypocrite. I don't have it up now. But most of the time I have a mobile device that has Twitter up. Most of the time I'm around a desktop that has Twitter up. I'm always checking it. My DMs are always open. Feel free to message me, follow me, do whatever. You can find me here on YouTube Gaming, gaming.youtube.com/veritechgg, the very channel you're watching this on. I am, as of today, a sponsored partner with YouTube, so I will be streaming exclusively on YouTube Gaming. I had a Twitch channel. It's probably not going to get used ever again. And excited to see what happens going forward. We actually picked up one more sponsor while we were streaming this, so
Nice.
Big shout out to that. But yeah, so you can find me on those two mediums, on Twitter and here on YouTube Gaming. And any other closing words before we wrap this up for another exciting week of the Guardians?
I think that'll do it.
All right. Well,
stay tight.
Stay tight.
Stay tight.
Oh, DJ Tyrant. DJ Tyrant. That guy's the man. But all right. Well, for my fellow co-hosts, Azax and One Eye, I am Veritech signing off. I will see you tomorrow for more Overwatch action, but we'll see you Fridays, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on YouTube Gaming for Guardians. See you then.